Now, you didn't expect that. It surrounds the human being in such a way and the civilization in such a way that when you're born, it becomes second nature. The wisdom of getting along. It's called the wisdom barrier. And let me tell you what's happening. You're there. And it's not going to give you fireworks or sparks in the sky. There's not going to be a celebration. There's not going to be balloons. Except on my side of the veil. And there's all of those. Because you're there. You're looking into the very essence of it. You are peeking into what makes it work. You're about to push the envelope that will affect all humanity. Not just the light workers, not just the old souls. You're about to push a button on physics you didn't know existed. Now, this is a biggie. The missing piece. How do I explain this? My partner, go very slow. Humanity explains things only from what they know, not what they don't know. Here's an example. You look into space, science looks into space, and they find attributes they cannot explain that do not seem to be Newtonian. But Newtonian physics is the gold standard of motion everywhere. And so the human being struggles to find formulas that will put the unexplained into Newtonian boxes. Welcome to dark matter. You're going to laugh later. And we have told you this before, but this is the human propensity. Take what is known, observe what is unknown but there, and place it into the boxes of the known. Even if they're convoluted, even if they don't make sense, even if they're mysterious. Instead of looking and saying, maybe, just maybe, there are missing laws of physics we don't know about that would explain this and that and this and that. Well, let me tell you one of the biggest places that you're missing. The place of the physics of consciousness. Listen to me. How do you define consciousness? Well, it's developed through a very special thought of humans and this and that. No, it isn't. Consciousness is physics, and you should get used to this. You are developing it through human thought, unaware that there are rules of consciousness, and it is a part of quantum physics. There are rules, there are postulates, there are beautiful attributes of the physics of consciousness that are going to start to explain what's going to happen in the future, but you don't see it that way. The missing piece is the knowledge that you can track this, that you can plot it, you can create it, even outside of humanity. Did you know that? It's beautiful, because when I start to tell you some of the attributes of the physics of consciousness, you're going to go, oh. What are the attributes of physics? What do you know? The answer is actually very little, but what you do know, you experiment with, you create things. The very technology that you have that is so beautiful on this planet is brought to you by the knowledge of the physics that you know. And there's cause and reaction. You build this and this happens. You put together certain kinds of things, and through all of the principles and the rules that you understand and the 4 basic laws that you have out of 6, you know what they are and you're using them. Beautiful. Now, what if I told you that that same scenario exists in consciousness? There are laws of consciousness that are just like the laws of physics, in that there's causal, there's effect, But in a quantum world, they're not linear. And so they create certain kinds of things. The physics of consciousness, being quantum and not linear, creates attributes that are going to create the future of this planet. And now, my partner, it gets hard. Because I'm showing my partner things right now, and he can't verbalize this. So I'm going to say, do your best. He sees the emotion of it. And he goes, oh, if you knew the physics of consciousness, you can build a better world. Mm. It has attributes. First of all, it does not travel from place to place. It does not travel in a straight direction. It does not travel. Consciousness is not in one place going to another. Consciousness does not expand. It does not get bigger or smaller. Consciousness is. Consciousness of physics, just like attributes of physics, sit there ready to be enhanced or not based upon other laws around it. And when they're applied, then they all change. Consciousness. Let me tell you about a couple of them. One is called the benevolence factor. Did you know that as the physics of consciousness is explored and the wisdom factor is applied and the barrier is passed, what happens next is an exponential understanding and application of the rules of consciousness that create a factor which generates benevolent action. Oh, that's convoluted, my partner. Can you say that better? Let me tell you this way. Right now on this planet, there's a struggle between forces. Because of the consciousness that you have developed here, and the rules that you have put in place through the physics of consciousness, there's an allowance right now of many things on this planet that we've never talked about. Is there evil on the planet? Yep. Are there entities dedicated to come in and mess with you? Yes. Is that shocking? And why is that? And why would that be? Because this test allows it. Because what you have created in the physics of consciousness and the rules that have applied and how you're using it allow it. But the next step past the wisdom barrier enhances those very patterns of consciousness that you're going to discover as part of physics that close the door. Did you get that? When the rules of physics are applied in certain situations, you can control what happens. It's the same in consciousness. When you reach a point of understanding the physics of consciousness, how it works, the mechanics of it, the distribution of it. Listen, I'm giving my partner something and he's going to say it, and it's not going to make sense to anything. The spiral delivery of it. Now that's going to make sense to somebody. You shut the door. And the things that have visited this planet can't anymore. And those places of darkness that would want to come in and play with your consciousness because it's at the teenage level of physics can't get in. That's the best explanation we have for what is going to happen in the future. And the Pleiadians are jumping up and down because they know what happened. It's almost an exponential evolution if you want it to be. One thing leads to another. It builds on itself. You don't have to start all over every single time you're born, like my partner described today. You come in with the factors that you learned before and build upon them. If I could use a term, born wise, I would. And it's going to change everything. And then when the physics is revealed, you'll understand why there are machines that can work with consciousness. But you're not going to need them. Not long. How many generations are required, Kryon? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. The reason is I don't want to give you a setup that'll spoil the party. Because every single planet has had its own time cycle of the delivery of this through their own free choice. How does it work? How fast does it work? When will it start? It's already started. You are at the wisdom barrier. Once you are at the wisdom barrier, I would like to tell you that the track record of all the planets who have reached the wisdom barrier are the same. They all move forward, every single one. You threw a switch, and no amount of dark energy can stop it. Oh, it'll try. I've told you that before. Humans invested in old ways, like the kids on the playground who don't want to grow up. They'll flail. They'll bully until their last breath. But they will awaken in a world, and they haven't got a chance to do it again. And this is what we're talking about. The benevolent factor, the wisdom barrier, these things start to work in the laws of the consciousness of physics in ways that you will indeed figure out, creating increased DNA percentage activation, creating a generation after generation, eventually, I won't tell you how long, of a human being who can create things out of nothing, who have control over physics, which is a lower kind of physics. The highest kind of physics is consciousness. And consciousness physics can control 3D physics any day. I'll wrap this up by telling you all of you are going to be there to see it. All of you. Every single one. Because that is the plan, old soul. You come back and you enter a world that you always wished you could have. Peace on earth? Oh, that's easy. That's the beginning. That's planting the seeds. That's a given. Look at your news. It's not going to look like it, is it? That's just today. Peace on earth. That's not the goal. Hardly. That's just a given. When you grow up and you're an adult, you stop throwing stones at each other on the playground. You stop. You have a more elegant idea. That's peace on earth. That's the beginning, the very beginning. And then it gets good. This is what we see. I've never said these things in this way. I wanted you to hear the full story. What would happen to a civilization that could create anything it wanted physically, was never hungry, who could live as long as they wanted to, could put themselves in a quantum state if they wanted to, who had different sets of ideas of the way things should work, who had no central control? Did you hear that? Have you ever heard of a managerless corporation? It's like that. And you would say, oh, that can't work. Oh, yes, it can. That's what you're headed for. Government decentralized to where there is none. There will be no such thing as world government, dear ones. Instead, there will be world consciousness agreement. You'll know better. How about that? What happens to a group of adults who go to a party for the first time and they've never met each other? What do? Throw rocks at each other? No, there's a consciousness of the party. They get together. They talk to each other. They have fun. What about a planet that had just that? They're born into a situation where they know better. That's the wisdom factor. That's the barrier you're crossing. It allows you to throw away any other system you ever thought you needed, especially the ones that organize you into groups to do things. It will be second nature. You'll all know together. Too good to be true? Ask a Pleiadian. Ask those from Orion. Ask those from Arcturus. Ask any planet of free choice, because they're all looking at you right now. This room is filled with them. And they're nodding their heads and say, right on, right on, right on. You just wait. You'll be there. And so it is.